Thank you, Lakshmi. I think my daughter agrees to it, so she really wants to show her presence to your answer by thanking you. But there are a few questions which have come from the audience, and one common thing I think we have seen a lot being spoken about, but I will like a quick perspective from either of any one of you. There are a lot of engineers with really good skills, right? Really exceptional skills. But what does it take for people to start companies, to have Indian origin core technology companies to happen? Only does talent work? I think you people are aware of that answer, that it is not just talent. There are many other things. So for the general audience, what are those many other things where talent only doesn't suffice?
Thing is to have, oh, sorry, I thought you'd done. The first thing I think is to keep a ear on the ground, on everywhere else, to see what's happening around you, right? I mean, that is like the most important. Whether what you're trying to solve is relevant and it is really solving a problem. And others, I'm sure others will cover other things, but one thing I think is very important is articulation of your idea of how you think it'll solve a problem, because the first thing you want to do is convince a set of peers to come and work with you to start the company. So if you cannot articulate that, then you're failing right there. The next step is to articulate to your venture capitalists who will come and want to invest. You have nothing but an idea. So I think being very clear in your mind about what the USP is and being able to say it out is like the very first step.
I can take a shot at that, right? So yeah, just to continue with what Lakshmi was saying, I put it this way: you should, if you want to build a company or a project, successful project, or whatever it is, right? I mean, I look at it similarly. Articulate the use case, right? What is it of value that you're building? Right? Understand what problem you're solving and why you're solving it, right? What does that mean? Right? How to solve it, of course, is important. As engineers, we see a problem, we want to solve it. Of course, we should do that. But ultimately, a company is a commercial enterprise, right? I think equally important is to ask the question: what value am I creating for someone by solving that problem? Now, that someone could be another company, it could be the consumer, it could be whatever, right? And why would somebody ultimately pay for that? Right? Unless you address that second problem, right? I think this is you have a problem with making this successful, and that's true, by the way. Even if it's an R&D project, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, you can solve some really hard technical problems, but ultimately, a company is a commercial enterprise. Unless there is some value you're providing to the bottom line, right? Either through a new product segment or enhancing an existing product, where somebody is willing to pay extra for it, right? You continue to have this problem, right? So I completely agree with the comments on the chat. I'm reading through it. India has incredible talent, but it's not just the technical problem that you have to solve. There is a quote unquote business side problem, which is what value you're creating and who will pay for it. Right? So these two things are actually equally important.
Maybe let me just build on what you started with. Right? I think keeping your ears grounded. I think some of the, as part of our jobs, I think we do have a lot of interaction with a lot of startups that happen in Bangalore, at least. So one thing that is extremely important is, I think, not passionately run after the first thought that came to your mind. I think one thing that we generally lack, I think, the sense of the patience and a sense of making sure that you have ensured that whatever was the idea that you're trying to solve, you have worked your homework to make sure that you have identified the real differentiation or the delta value that you are bringing to the table, which when it comes out is still perceived valuable. I think two things that I think that is extremely important, and I think if anybody asks me, I preach the same thing, is one, like we do as part of our research program, like PhD or masters, the amount of literature survey we do it carries on even in a world where you're trying to start up, where you first identify a problem and you ensure that every possible information available in front of you, you've resolved that whatever you're solving continues to stay unique and is still very valuable. And second, you need to have a good judgment of by when do you think you will have that product out or a solution out or the outcome of the startup out in the market when customers are willing to take it. At that point, it still needs to be perceived very, very valuable. And I've known a lot of startups with a bold goal of trying to do something, and by the time they actually delivered it, they were behind where the market is. When you're changing your plan continuously and you're never a successful startup at that point. I think those aspects of making sure you have the right judgment of the quality of the problem and the value or the differentiation that your solution is bringing to the table when the product is actually out will be the really key things. And of course, it is substantiated significantly with the skill of articulating and communicating the value and the differentiation that you're bringing, not just to your potential customers, but your potential employees and potential mentor VCs who will eventually get you to do what you want to do.
Just to add to what others have told, some very good points have been brought out. But then if I would like to add a few more things. So suppose, assuming that one who would like to be successful in setting up a company and working towards that kind of an entrepreneurship kind of a role is good technically, that is one aspect of the problem which is addressed. But I would also like to bring out that one should be aware that once we are talking of an enterprise, it essentially revolves around teamwork. And so this is where the leadership and techno-managerial aspects also come into effect. And
Okay, I think we lost you. Yogesh? Okay, Javed, you can go.
See, meanwhile, there's a question that says, how is the opportunity in the core communication industry for a woman with PhD working on WLAN, right, to enter a company at the age of 38 with an academic experience of 6 years previous to her PhD? So the good thing is, a lot of the product companies today have two completely different paths. They have a technical path and the managerial path, right? So you can become like a technical leader, senior technical leader, principal engineer, distinguished engineer, and a fellow. You don't even have, I mean, it's completely technical. So there are a lot of opportunities in that path for PhDs to come in at any level, right, with different kinds of experience to come and interview and see if there is a right fit. So I think there is a lot of opportunity. You just have to go and try. That's what I would tell Sheila.
Thank you. There was one question which has got a theme, at least 4 or 5 questions asked on this one. Passion. How do you identify it and where can you identify it? Let me put this to some of the recent people. I'll start off with, say, Dr. Sriram, who has gone through both industry and the academia. So I will take his point and then I'll go with Dhananjay's point on this one.
Thanks for the question. I'll just add one comment on the previous thing about the innovation and the startup. So one point is also generally about the culture, right? The risk-taking behavior or the culture. That's also something that we should promote, both in the country. We are generally trying to.
I want to know. Should we put the question to Dr. Vijay about 4 and 5? See, one thing is
I hear some crosstalk.
They have redrawn the claims, the abstract, and FER, the response to.
Is there a way to mute?
Yeah.
Whatever we have in our specification. something which we call some.
Can you please can you please unmute yourself, Sriram?
Yeah. I am unmuted. Thank you. So the comment, the general risk-taking behavior and the culture, in general, coming to from the, seeing the Western people and also the culture that you say, particularly in the US, we kind of somehow focus more on the mean. We want, people to not shy away too much from the mean. Everybody has to do well in the academics, and everybody has to get, somebody even said everybody has to get above average marks, by even defining, what an average is. You say everybody has to get above average. So, this sort of a feel is, the push to, improve the mean. We are losing out on the variance. People who are exceptional, who are risk taking, who are away from the standard thinking, out of the box. We lose out on that. When in general